So I'm continuing the series on industry shakers. And tonight's guest I know personally. She participates in our TDMM study group. And I'm so impressed by her that I have to bring her on the show to inspire other people.
Don't hang up that phone. We've found what you're looking for. Welcome to the Let's Talk Cabling podcast with Chuck Bowser, RCDD. Well, seeing how we're pulling Category 6A, the most powerful twisted pair in the world, you gotta ask yourself this one question. Did I pull 295 or 300 feet? Well, do you feel lucky? Do you, punk? In this podcast, you'll learn the differences between a 66 and 110 punch tool, the proper way to install a support cable, along with testing and certifying the cable. What exactly does RCDD stand for? Registered Communications Distribution Designer. Just the expert you need to ensure your cable plant performs exactly as designed. The elite professional, knowledgeable, and experienced in leading-edge ICT design principles. So join us as we talk about the ever-changing world of telecommunications. From ISP to OSP, from copper to fiber, design to installation. Now, send the new guy to the truck for a bucket of dial tone and the cable stretchers, while you listen to an informative program on telecommunications.
Welcome to the show where we tackle the tough questions that are submitted by installers, project managers, estimators, IT personnel, and sometimes even the customers. We connect at the human level so we can connect the world. If you're watching this show on YouTube, would you mind hitting the bell button to be notified when new buttons, or hit the subscribe button and the bell button, so that way you can be notified when new shows are coming out. If you're watching this show on, or listening to the show on iTunes, Google, or Amazon podcasts, would you mind submitting us a 5-star review? If it's not 5 stars, shoot me an email at chuck@letstalkcabling.com and tell me what I can do to make it a 5-star show. Those couple little steps helps us in the algorithm so we can get this show out and make this even better, encourage more people and educate more people and empower more people in our industry, because that's what it's all about. Every Thursday night, we also do a live stream on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook when Chuck doesn't have problems with it. And it's recorded, so that way if you miss it, that you can still go back and watch it. Speaking of watching recorded content, if you go to our webpage, www.letstalkcabling.com, you will find all the recorded podcasts and live streams there as well. If you would like to be a future guest on this show, go to the contact page and go to the guest page, and there's a form. Fill it out, and we'll review it and maybe even have you on the show. So on today's show, our guest is Yaheisha. She's, like I said, a member of our TDMM study group, and I am thoroughly impressed with her. It takes a lot to impress me. I'm telling you, by the end of the show, if you're not impressed, you need to check your pulse, because she is that good. Yaheisha, welcome to the show.
Chuck, thank you for that introduction. Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Not a problem. Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure having you on the show. So tell us a little bit about you and how you got in the ICT industry.
It's a funny story, actually. I have an architecture background, architecture major. I studied architecture back in the Dominican Republic, where I'm from. I came here when I was 23, 24 years old. I was working in, Whole Foods here and there. And then I got a phone call because I put my resume online about a company, engineering company, that was looking for a revenue person for the telecommunication department. And I said, yeah, let's go to the interview. Everything went so well. Like 3 days later, I started a new position. So it was amazing.
So how long have you been in the industry now?
3 years since March.
3 years. And
Yes,
you
sir.
know all that you know already. What certifications do you have?
For only one, a DCC8, which is Data Center Certificate Associate from Schneider Electric.
Oh, okay. But don't forget, what's the one you're working towards now?
Actually, two, RCDC and DCDC, both from Big C.
Did you catch that? She's not working towards just one, both. That's what kind of an achiever she is. I'll give you an idea. So when we have our TDMM study group, every week, each person in the group has to bring at least 3 questions and 1 resource that they found that week, along with doing the readings. Yaheisha consistently comes with 10 questions and 3 or 4 resources. I'm telling you, she is that thorough in her job. She really, really is. Now, let me ask you this, Yaheisha. What attracted you to the ICT industry? Because it's not something most people just pick.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, I grew up using internet, television, watching videos, cell phones, and I never really knew how communication was actually transmitted or which media do we use. I didn't know anything about it. So when I realized how amazing everything was, I was like, okay, I need to stay in this industry. I need to be part of this that is happening in society. So it was amazing.
Yeah, most people don't pick ICT as a career path. What I mean by that is little kids growing up, they want to be doctors and lawyers and whatever. Nobody ever says, I want to pull cable when I grow up.
I'm a low voltage engineer here. Low voltage installer. No one.
Exactly. Or now they're like, I want to be a YouTube influencer.
I want to be a TikToker. You're like, come on.
Yes, because YouTube is so 90s. Yeah.
It is.
Yes, I was actually thinking about TikTok as part of our social platform, but I'm already doing 3 now. It's like, oh, I can't do another one.
You should have TikTok. I watched a nice video about submittals on TikTok that is hilarious. So definitely think about joining.
Very cool. So now let me ask you this. Since you're kind of new to this, you got a fresh perspective instead of old people like me and people that I hang around. What challenges do you find as a new person to this industry?
The first one will be kind of define a path that I can follow. As you know, there's not an ICT or low voltage major that you can go to the university. So you kind of on your own to figure out what to do. So you kind of have to relate on what you find online. That's the first kind of thing that you can find. The second one is resources. You don't know where to trust. The internet is amazing, if you will, but also there's a lot of misleading information that you can find. So those 2 things for sure.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head as usual. When you're using the internet as a research tool, you've got to evaluate that where that information is coming from, because anybody, and I'm a perfect example of that, anybody can put up a YouTube channel. Anybody can put up a podcast. So you got to really evaluate that resource. You really, really do. So let me ask you this. What are you using as your resources with your stuff when you become educated?
The first one is Pixie. That's the more reliable resources that I could find online. Then from there, I use YouTube, honestly. Also LinkedIn. It is a huge community that you can always refer back to. And I watch a lot of webinars for different websites, such as Schneider Electric, Siemens. And I also talk to my coworkers that have more experience than me, and they can kind of lead me to the right direction, suggest some books, websites, and resources in general.
Yeah, one of the things you got to be careful with when you're using other people as a resource, and this includes me. Sometimes we're wrong. Don't always question, right? So you've been in the industry for 3 years now. What is your favorite part of this industry?
Probably how everything works. Like, it's pretty impressive how we're able to communicate since like the 90s or the 1920s, how things evolved from, a single cable to fiber optic to what we're doing these days. So that's the part that I like the most. And I'm kind of anxious to what the future is hoping for us as an industry. Like, what is the industry going? I'm going to be part of whatever is happening, if it's going to happen. So that's my favorite part for sure.
Yeah, I'm kind of jealous of you actually, because I'm at the end of my career and I've seen a lot of stuff change, but I'm super excited about all the new stuff the industry's coming out with, right? Power over Ethernet for light fixtures and industrial Ethernet, single pair Ethernet. It's just growing leaps and bounds. And you are at the beginning of your career. You're going to get to see all this stuff while Chuck is put in an old folks' home sipping applesauce through a straw.
Hopefully not, but
yeah. True. Even after I retire, I still plan on doing the podcast and the YouTube because I just love sharing information. I really do. Let me ask you this. So I already asked you what is your favorite part of our industry. So I got to go on the flip side of that. Obviously, what don't you like about this industry?
I need to refer back to my previous answer. How misleading some websites are, how many information you can find online that is just wrong. If you want to, I don't know, for example, learn how to install a router, you can go online and find a video that might be wrong and damage your device. And to a larger scale, for me, it will lead me to confusion, and it's just not ideal.
Yeah. There's a lot of misinformation out there. And there's also a lot of leading information. There's companies out there that'll put out a video on a subject and they may not give you the full picture because they want you to buy their products, not a competitor's product. So that's why I try to make my show as vendor neutral as I can, right? Next question I have for you is, how do you keep current in this ever-changing industry?
Pixie, webinars, LinkedIn, try to connect with people like you that always know where the industry is going. Taking courses, certifications, RCDC, DCC. That's what I do. Try to stay connect with other colleagues as well.
Right. When do you plan on taking your test? Just out of curiosity.
The RCDD or DCC?
Oh, so you got them both planned out already, don't you?
Yeah.
How come that doesn't surprise me?
So the tricky part is, for the RCDD, you need to have 5 years in the industry at least.
Right.
Or you need to have another big certification.
Right.
In that regard, I'm planning on taking the DCDC first by the end of this year, maybe next year at the beginning, and then eventually the RCDC by mid-August of last year, so a year from now.
Right. And for those who may not know this, the DCDC certification, in my opinion, is harder than the RCDD.
People say that. Do you really think that that's the case?
See, here's why I think this. And again, this is why I love your perspective on this. You're coming in the industry a blank slate. In this industry, I've got a chalkboard with 40 years of cabling experience. So the data center stuff's all brand spanking new to stuff. And when I took the DC class, the data center class, the Bixie class,
yep,
I felt like I just got in the industry again. It was like a whole new language, all new acronyms and all new concepts. And I've struggled with it. But you're fresh, and that's why I'm thinking you probably don't have that same issue because you're fresh to the industry and you don't have that experience
and nope,
that's tugging you the other direction.
Correct. And in the same regard, I work with data centers on a daily basis. So I've been dealing with data centers for 3 years now. So I'm pretty comfortable with all the concepts, all the systems, all the the terms that they used. So for me, it might be slightly easier because I work day after day with the same thing. And as you said, I don't have my brain with all the telecom knowledge that you have. For me, I'm a blank page. I'm like, just throw me information.
Yeah. You're my favorite kind of student. You're a blank slate and you're hungry for information.
I am 100%.
So let me ask you this question. What additional challenges do you think that you have to deal with being a woman in the ICT industry?
I love that question, actually. So thank you for submitting that. There's not many females in the industry. So when they see a new female, they kind of don't really trust that person at the beginning just because they're used to see a male in that position and they're not the typical. So, but after you kind of show them and you let your work speak for itself, they trust you. But at the beginning, people are still they hesitate when they see you.
Right. And there's a little bit of that going on with everybody, whether it's male or female. But I think when you're a female in a male-dominated industry, you've got it more so than somebody else does. My sister's she's a salesperson for Sunlight manufacturer. So she's in the construction industry as well. And when she first got in, she said the same thing. It's a male-dominated industry, and she had to prove her worth, because of that. Now let me ask you this question: would you recommend the ICT industry for other women?
100%, absolutely. We need that family perspective into what we do. We need to have, female opinion. We need to represent the whole, how you will say, the whole vast majority, both genders, if you will.
Yes.
So we need that perspective for sure.
Yeah, I know I mentioned this in the first version of this interview that I'm going to have to trash now. My wife and I are a perfect example of that. We're both A-type personalities. But sometimes when we're outside working on something on the farm and I'm building something or doing something, she'll look at it, she goes, "Why are you doing it that way?" And sometimes I do get frustrated. I'll admit it, I'll get frustrated. I'm like, "Just let me finish this." And she goes, No. Why don't you do it this way, and that way? And I'm like, oh, why didn't I think of that? I'm supposed to know everything. So
Right.
Yeah, you get two people together from two totally different perspectives. That helps
You need
everything.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
need.
yeah, exactly. I know I said this before, but I view the ICT industry as a bicycle wheel, right? So a bicycle wheel has lots of components. You have the tire, the inner tube, the spokes, the hub, and the metal rim. You can't be all of them, and everyone's got a different perspective, right? From the very center, you're looking all the way out, all that other stuff from the tires. You're looking inward, so everybody's got a different perspective, and everybody's got a job to do, and that's why I think our industry needs more diversity and more young people as well.
We need young people, yes.
More young people, exactly right. And that's why it really irritates me when you see these, oh, millennials this, Gen X is that, and you name it, whatever. I've always part of the podcast and obviously the study group, I get to see some really quality people in all those different things. You got to judge people on an individual basis, not lump them in as with a group, right? Oh, she doesn't know anything. She's just a woman who's studying for RCDD and her DCDC at the same time.
I am.
I don't know anybody else who's doing that.
I guess I'll be there first.
Yes, you are. One final question for you. Are you mentoring anybody?
Define that. Let's see if I can. If I can
mentoring
say yes.
Basically means that you are showing somebody else who may not have because I know you only have 3 years of experience, but you're working in the industry and you've got a lot of book smarts and you've got a good head on your shoulder, right? That doesn't happen in 3 years. That happens from a lifetime. So is there somebody that you are mentoring so they can be better? It doesn't have to be ICT industry. It could be any industry. Are you mentoring anybody? Helping them make them better?
Yeah. We have a new employee in our department. He's like 8 years into the industry and the company. And I'm like his mentor, if you will. He's working with me side by side every single day since he started. I'm trying to kind of pass my knowledge to him and my same vibe, this is the way that you should go. This is the resources that you could use. And this is how I keep myself motivated. So to that point, yes, I am. Right. I don't see myself as one, but I guess I am.
Right. As a mentor, you don't have to view yourself as an expert. I've got 40 years in this industry. I don't consider myself an expert. I just consider myself a good student. Right. There are no experts because our industry changes way too fast. Now, I happen to know from the part of the interview that I'm going to have to trash that you're part of the Bixie mentoring program.
Yes, I am.
How do you like that?
I love it. I have a nice mentor. He's a really fun guy, knowledgeable guy. He's been in the industry for 40 plus years, and he's so nice to talk with. So yeah, I love it actually. Yeah. It's really cool.
I was so glad to see Bixie do that. I really, really was. And I actually interviewed Ashley in one of my earlier podcasts.
You want something fun? That's how I knew that they were doing the mentorship program. In your video, I saw her.
Very cool.
So thank you. I appreciate that.
Not a problem. See, that's the whole reason I do this. I don't do this for, increasing my subscriber count, all that stuff. I do this to educate and empower people's lives. Because, I realize I'm at the tail end of my career and I want to make sure everybody else has the knowledge that I have that doesn't go to waste. So anything that you want to tag on to the conversation that maybe we didn't cover?
I just want to tell to young people, maybe new people to the ICT industry, to don't be afraid of, study for a big certification, even if they don't have the knowledge just yet, just to kind of build the knowledge day by day. To be hungry of knowledge and to be just part of the revolution that we are. As you said, 20 years from now, who knows what ICT will be? And we need people to be part of this. And I need to be part of that as well.
Good words. I love your shirt, by the way. Electricity explained.
You saw that? You have volts and amps. Love it.
Nice.
Gotta love it.
Nice. Well, thank you for being on the show today, Yaheisha. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Until next time, be safe.
Right.
That's it for this episode of today's podcast. We hope you were able to learn something. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. Also, leave a rating so we can help even more people learn about telecommunications. Until next time, be safe.